Hi, welcome to the end of Korean cinema. Kang-ho and Lee Byung in a new movie together? Heck yes! Let's see what's going on with Emergency Declaration, or 비상선언. Kang-ho is a detective whose wife boards a plane to Honolulu. Lee Byung also gets on the plane with his daughter. Then a very strange person appears on the plane who turns out to be sort of a terrorist and unleashes a deadly virus among the passengers and crew. And the problems just keep on coming after that. I generally don't like movies involving airplanes. I don't know why, but usually they bore me to death. Except for Airplane, but that's a different story. So I'm happy to say that this movie surprised me quite a bit. I mean, positively. As soon as the virus is released on the plane, the stakes are getting higher and higher. Not only people start to die, but it becomes an international problem and no country wants to allow the plane to land. This creates an incredible sense of urgency, to the point where I can confidently say this movie is in large part a thriller. The movie builds tension pretty well. It's there right from the very first scene and from the very first musical note. You can feel something boiling under the surface, and it just keeps on building as the movie goes along. We also get some pretty good character setups with visual storytelling instead of just boring exposition scenes. I mean, there is exposition in the dialogue, it's just done very cleverly and is very noticeable. And actually, one of the surprises of this movie were the characters. Obviously, things escalate pretty quickly and people have to work really hard both on the plane and on the ground to solve the problem. And seriously, each and every character cares so much. Whether it's a congressman, a detective, a stewardess on the plane, it's quite inspiring actually. But what really surprised me was a decision the passengers make at some point. Everybody on the plane agrees to do something. I'm not gonna tell you what. It's a very hard decision to make, but a very wise and responsible one. I couldn't believe what I was saying. 99% of the characters in this movie are people who actually care. It was so refreshing. People make difficult decisions and everyone acts very responsibly. I loved it. I also love how the movie shows the speed of information in 2022. Since everybody has their phones, everybody knows what's happening all the time, which is a blessing and a curse because the good news cheer the people up on the plane, but the bad news sent them to absolute emotional hell. Also, there were two sequences that made my jaw drop to the floor. One was involving the plane not being really stable in the air. The other was a car chase filmed from the backseat of a car. I wish the movie had more of this kind of filmmaking. It was visually stunning. And I also really appreciated that Lee Byung-hun's character was given a good amount of character depth, making him the most interesting character in the movie. Unfortunately, other characters can fade into the background a bit. There's a lot going on in this movie. There are lots of little interconnecting threads, and some characters suffer for it. They set up some really intriguing characters, but around halftime the movie stops doing anything interesting with them. I wanted a lot more character interactions because they were intriguing enough. This unfortunately affects the emotional weight of the movie. You will care for these characters, but you won't be grabbing the edge of your seat for them. Does that make sense? Any other problems I have with the movie are purely technical. It's a long movie, I think it's 2 hours and 20 minutes, and you can feel it. Sometimes the pacing is way too slow. This movie should have been 2 hours long at max. I also don't like the color grading. This is a very dull looking movie, even though I like some of the lighting. But a lot of the shots are overexposed and blurry, and I especially wasn't impressed by the interior of the plane. Way too dark and way too bland. It does have a claustrophobic feel though, I give them that. And they do some great things with it visually later, but overall I don't like the cinematography here. I also wanted to see the villain more. Again, a very intriguing character. And even though we get quite a bit of backstory, I would have loved to see him in action a bit more. He was genuinely a disturbing character. Played by Im Shi-won, by the way, a great actor. So overall, I really like how mature the characters are in this movie. I like the tension building. I like the performances. Unfortunately, the pacing could be better and the characters could have had some better character arcs. Some of them at least. But if you like airplane disaster movies, I highly recommend it. But also if you're interested in character dramas, or if you'd like to see a lesson on human responsibility, give this movie a try. I'm gonna give Emergency Declaration 70%. Not perfect, but in a way this is a surprisingly mature movie about the best and the worst in us. And I appreciate that. Thank you so much for watching. Please hit the like and subscribe. And if you'd like to support the channel even more, my PayPal information is in the description. 함시간 만나요 여러분. 안녕히 계세요.